Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, of course, and just wrapping up the Ball State win. Congratulations to Coach Lembo and the Ball State team. I thought they played a really good game. Not wavering off of what we've talked about all the way through. We turned the ball over 3 times, didn't force any turnovers, and off those 3 turnovers, they scored 21 points. We were far from perfect in all phases, but it ended up being a 15-point game, and so those 21 points I think is the first thing to look at. Defensively and offensively we worked together early on in that second half with getting some shutting them down and forcing them to punt, and the offense getting the ball and scoring points. And so there were definitely things to build on. One of the things that we talked about after the game is that our guys continue to play hard and to not quit and to finish games. However, we've been congratulated for that throughout the year and talked to the team about how that has to be a given, and that's the standard from here on out, and we no longer can feel good about having played hard for an entire game. And that's the given, that's the standard, and now we have to move forward in terms of playing smart and taking care of the necessary details that are going to help you be successful on the scoreboard at the end of the game. And we do have a short week, play on Friday versus a great Toledo team who's playing for a conference championship, or the right to play for a conference championship. And the number 1 total offense in the league, and a defense that is full of great players and a very good scheme, like to pressure and make it hard on an offense. So we've got a group of 17 seniors, that are going to be practicing this week for the last time and playing in their last game and their last home game here at Eastern Michigan. And so we're going to finish strong, and we need to send those guys out, with their heads held high.
Did you challenge the team at halftime any differently than you have last week? Or what was kind of the, go down, but second half came out, more focused, better on the detail? What was the kind of the difference you saw? And did you kind of tell them anything at halftime that was different than the previous weeks?
Well, what I usually do is I try to address the team, just sort of the emotional state while the defense and offensive staff are getting together and trying to chalk things up and just make sure that guys are in the right frame of mind to then receive, the coaching and whatnot. And, it's been like a lot of our half times where we're frustrated. It didn't have to be that way. I get it when we're, overmatched in a way where, it's really, really tough to compete. But when, you're able to compete and not competing, there's a balance and there's a tension between getting everything out of your team that you need to get out of them, but also, not coming down on them and blaming them for, for things that they probably can't completely handle, in that way. So, so there's, and then, offensively, I know we've talked a ton about, we had some drive killers in the first half, in the 4th and 1, you get a penalty and, not converting on a third down. I mean, the first one of the first series, we just missed a block on a bubble, otherwise we're moving. And so, and then the second half, there's a couple of those as well. We kicked field goals instead of scored touchdowns, but, it was really, we feel as though mistakes that we can correct, and it would usually be one a drive. And then, for the most part, in the first half, we weren't able to overcome, those mistakes. So we did play better in the second half, but it was, again, just better execution. It was not a new scheme or anything like that in the second half.
I think you mentioned this on the conference call. The Bell seemed to respond and kind of take the offense, obviously, on his shoulders. He wasn't the only guy to kind of have a good second half, but just talk about, him able to kind of come out and really lead the charge for you guys offensively and do all what he did?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was concerned just about, his demeanor. It wasn't that he wasn't executing the game plan, at a decent level and whatnot. But again, it's frustrating, when you're not sustaining drives and not scoring points, and the scoreboard is getting away from you. And the number one thing that we have to have in a quarterback is leadership. And so, we tried to just snap him out of, listen, the team needs you right now to lead. And so that is the thing that I'm most excited about and impressed by, with Reggie. I told him after the game, I said, people are going to talk to you about lots of numbers and whatnot. And I'm going to say those pale in comparison, to how you were able to lead in the second half. And so was proud of his. He made some monster mistakes, but overall, outside of the monster mistakes, which can't happen, he completed 73% of his passes, and got our offense moving.
When you say demeanor, was it, I know he's a young kid, and, is it that he was down, or was that he was not upset enough? It's like, what kind of demeanor did he, I don't want to misqualify and say, what was his kind of, did you not see enough fire, or was it more that he was down that he did make those mistakes? What was his kind of, what do you get a sense of?
Yeah, no, that's good. And, we're still getting to know each other. You always want a quarterback to be able to be poised and not to be too high or too low. But we needed him to help lead the change and lead the response, in the second half. And, in leadership, especially with a young guy, it's you have to be able to lead yourself first. You can't lead other people until, you have yourself right. And when you're learning and trying to get everything done correctly and whatnot, it's a little bit more difficult. And so, it was just a little bit of trying to get him to realize, the reality of where the team was at that point, and how we needed him to respond, that people are going to be looking at him, how he comes off the field, how he runs onto the field when something positive or negative happens. And, I thought he did a much better job of that.
And the starts, I know execution-wise, that's kind of where it falls down, but you kind of get any sense of why it's been a slower start? That's been kind of a pattern. I know we've kind of talked about this before too, but happened again. So do you kind of, any similarities or any kind of, obviously outside of just the execution-wise, like just why you guys can't start a little quicker? Well,
I'll tell you, one thing that we talked about, as a staff, is just the depth of belief at this point, that they can make the plays when the plays matter early on. It's I think that we had good energy and good juice and felt prepared going into the game. But then, a couple minutes into the game, there's, defensively we're up first, and so there's a third down, and coach has worked so hard to get those third downs, and I think that first one, I think they caught it at about 6 yards on a 3rd and 9, and then didn't break a tackle, but drug it, for 4 yards, and it's not the end of the world. They're still in their own, side, but it was that first 3rd down, and then they got another 3rd down. I think it was 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and hit the flat and moved the chains. Then they got a big play. All of a sudden, they've gone down the field and scored. So there's 2 third downs where they made the play and we didn't. And if there's confidence and belief in themselves and in the system and just in our ability to go out there and beat somebody, I think you make those plays. And so, when we're in week 10 and week 11 and, there's been a pattern that we've been on the short side of that stick, I think that's something that we're probably battling, outside of the execution.
How did in this last one, obviously, for the seniors, it's their last chance, but do you frame it, as a chance to not go out as a high of the season, but just, also to affect the outcome of the conference too. This is a big game. Did you kind of try to stress that this week?
No, we won't. In terms of the conference implications, every Monday I go through sort of the MAC results just to keep everybody, aware of what's going on. But we have never talked about standings, just, who's played who and whatnot. And so, everything that we're doing is internal. We've got plenty of work to do just with our own team, focusing on ourselves and getting better. So, they're 45 minutes away, and I would imagine since the inception of the league, the team that has been on top, the most historically, and we just want to continue to close the gap on becoming the best that we can be, and we've held it together. We haven't performed like we're capable, especially consistently and week in and week out. But we've seen glimpses, and so we're still aspiring to get better and get to that point, to play our best game. And unfortunately, we just have a couple of days left together, and seniors that have poured their hearts into this program, and we just want to make it a special week for them.
Coach,
Yeah.
on offense, Reggie's shown, I think, everybody that he could run, but this week was probably his best, really made a statement. He could throw the ball and throw it accurately.
Yeah.
How big was that to have him have a game like that before kind of close the season, to see that?
Yep.
Actually against, competition, not just in practice. I know you guys have talked a lot about he's an accurate passer. How important was that for, his development?
Yeah, he took the next step. And what was really impressive is, as you said, he likes to run around, and when things break down, take off. His eyes were downfield, and he made some really big plays where he threw the ball on the run. There was a 3rd and 19, and he hit Creel, and Creel found a second window, and it was like they've been doing it for years, and that was really exciting to see. Is some of those plays. There's always going to be one or two out there. You'd be, what ifs and things like that, but just in general, he played lights out except for the turnovers. The fumbles. We just got to find a way to land on the bad snap and limit the loss there. That can't turn into a touchdown. And then, he converted a first down. He converted and got a first down there at the end of the half. And the ball comes loose and gives them great field position, to stretch the lead, and we're trying to get some points there at the end of the half and feel good about it, because we get the ball to start the second. And so that's just one of those things where he played really, really well. It's just those big blemishes that we need to overcome.
Had to set up for field goals a couple times in the second half, and that when you have the shorter field some of this season, it's been kind of tough sometimes. Red zone too, you guys have called for it. Anything that just when the defense tightens up, it kind of gives you guys a little bit of a problem, especially with the freshman quarterback? Is that kind of what you've seen, or what have you seen in some of those situations when you're kind of getting close but can't kind of push it over?
We got 6 opportunities. We had 3 touchdowns, and 2 of them it's completely clear on what happened. It's a 4th and 1. I love it. Coach Creighton's going for it on the second drive. I feel great about what's happening, the play call and everything, and felt awesome about our short yardage package, and we false start. 4th and 1. I think we walk in the end zone, and then in the third quarter, we drop a pass on the 2, on third and 5, and it's just we got to execute, we got to finish. I think they did a nice job putting us in a 3rd and long on the other opportunity we had, and we had to kick a field goal, and we're not going to be perfect, but those are opportunities, like you're saying, that we got to punch it in, and it's a whole different game. Instead of being 14-3, it's 14-7. So.
And the receivers, had a good week, and Tyrese had a good week, obviously. Not just talk about the chemistry's kind of unfortunate it's at the end of the season, but seems to be kind of getting there a little better between everybody.
Yeah, I think Reddy's just understands. He understands. Where they're going to be at, and those guys just did a nice job. They made some big plays. They helped each other out. Reggie threw him the ball. He bought some time. He found windows. But those guys made some really good catches. There was multiple times, and we know about Tyrese's one-hander down the sideline. I mean, he had a couple times where he had to flip his hips as well as did Creel. Chris Strange makes a diving catch coming across the middle, late in the game. And so those guys made plays. That's what it comes down to. When I think about the other great passing game Reggie had, when we had to make plays, it was Buffalo in the second half, and guys made plays. Gibby catches a diving touchdown one-on-one, and Creel, beats a guy on 3rd and 6 when they're bringing 0. Guys are making plays, and that keeps drives going and allows you to really, now set your offense in motion, because we're running and passing, and they don't know what's coming next, and so hats off to those guys, and they keep working at it. I will say this: after practice last week, they were throwing after practice. Reggie, and I know Chris Strange is out there, and Creel is, those guys are still working, and they're still trying to get better, and they want to make it happen, and you saw some production there on that, on Saturday.
And Toledo, what do you see on the defense?
Yeah, they're aggressive, physical up front, and definitely bringing a lot of pressure. Did a nice job against Bowling Green last week. Man them up and really, force them, kind of shut them down. And so, we're gonna have to find ways of getting, getting some matchups that we like again. We kind of see who the guys are the last few weeks that can win on those matchups, and we need to, be attacking them that way. And then we got to continue to be better, running the football. I think the stats are a little bit skewed. I was concerned about our yards per run, but the 42-yard loss, definitely killed us. So, with the fumbled snap, but we still need to be better running the football. And I'm not sure exactly what the weather will be like, but I'm sure it will be cooler. And but being balanced and having the ability to do both now, where you can't just focus on Reggie as a gun zone read quarterback, I think that poses a little bit of problems on the other end too. So get some early success and build some belief within the team, and it can go a long way. That'd be huge.
You mentioned pressure. Is that kind of the toughest thing for a young quarterback, especially one who can run, to decide when to run, but also how long to hold it? Because sometimes Bell, he locks up a little bit.
Yep.
He's got so many options. Whereas he's got his legs. Is that maybe the most difficult thing for him when you're hitting, getting blitzed or getting pressure, trying to figure out what to do in those kind of situations?
Yeah, we went. A good example is we went back to some empty package stuff again last week, and that really, people want to pressure. That puts a lot of, the quarterback's got to make good decisions, and guys got to be in sync. And I was super excited with how Reggie handled that, and D-Jack made a nice catch on 3rd and 4. They went 0 coverage, and we made a couple nice plays to Tyrese, and then also Creighton had one at the end, and those were all out of empty where Reggie's got pressure. I mean, they're in some cases bring one more than we can handle, and he's got to get rid of it, and it's got to happen now, and he did that. So that was exciting to see, and I think having a running quarterback, it's sometimes tough because we're sitting there in film. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're telling him, hey, take off and run once in a while, get the chains moving, or get some positive yards on first down, but. There's that balance, and what was awesome, I think, on Saturday is he gave us that balance. There was times when he took off and ran and converted, and then there was times where he just, kept poised and kept moving and threw balls on the run and stepped up in the pocket and threw the ball accurately. And so it was a good day in that way.
And then defensively, obviously, 28 points in the first half again. Kind of just talk about, just frustrating, or how do you call, when defense gives up 4 touchdowns, so you gotta, where you're at, with the team, how do you kind of try to get them to turn the page a little bit?
Yeah, the first drive that Coach talked about, we put them in 2 third-down situations where either one of those ends the drive, and we executed 2 separate aspects of our game plan, in terms of what we wanted to do in those situations, but we didn't fully execute it, and then we made a tackle that still resulted in a first down. And so that to me is the biggest key to success, is getting off the field on the first drive teams have scored on the first drive against us, a touchdown on the first drive against us in all but 2 games of the season. And that should give us some confidence that touchdown 3, 2, 3, and 4, maybe wouldn't be in the same situation, wouldn't occur. So the second touchdown that they scored, once it was a big play again to set it up, and they got in the red zone, chose pressure over coverage and put one of our guys in a difficult spot, and want that one back. That's on me. I want that one back. So it's a combination of things that that we're continuing to identify, work on, learn from, grow from, and the thing that we won't do is lower our expectation of what we want, and that's third down achievement is important. Not missing tackles is important, and making sure that we're aligned and assigned right so that we can execute is important.
Is the hardest part, when you do execute, because a couple of those third downs you've had them, the guy just fought harder to get, the 2 yards. Is that the hardest part when you are executing, and then, you kind of get, or is it harder if you, miss a block, or, miss a read? Is it from a coaching perspective, what's tougher?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one's tougher because, when you're in the situation where you feel like you had them, you want that to result in a positive for you. So you come to the sideline and you talk about how it worked, and then if we were a step away, an inch away, if we were close but not there, that we can't tolerate that. That's got to be a no excuse, environment for us right there, and so that gets your blood pressure up, when you were close but didn't get it done. So.
And the second half, you guys obviously responded, played better, but, any difference? Did you get a sense of what the difference is between the first and second half?
We made one adjustment to their two-back run game that they were doing some things in two-backs that they had not previously done in the last 4 weeks, and so we made one adjustment to that, which I think it aided to a certain extent of getting an extra hat to the football and made us a little bit more aggressive. I thought that they were kind of chipping away with us with the run game, and kept the drives going that way to a certain extent, and so it enabled us to get into some longer third downs. Like they converted 1 third down in the second half, and so there was part of the success again right there. But in terms of believing that we could win when the score was really against us, it was still there. It was there late in the third quarter. It was there in the fourth quarter. And that's everything. Belief that you can do it, regardless of what the facts show you, with the scoreboard, is paramount.
Big play, obviously didn't cause a turnover. What's kind of the key to kind of get some of those going?
So creating turnovers to me is about effort in pursuit of the football and the proper pursuit angle. You've got to get multiple people there taking the right angle, and then it's got to be the pace. And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was our pace like during the course of the game? It was probably a 9. We chart lack of efforts, if you will, and we had the fewest lack of efforts than we've had in the last 6 weeks. So I felt like our pace was there. A scale of 1 to 10, we were probably at a 9, maybe at a 9.5. Scale of 1 to 100, being 9D versus 9, that 10-point difference. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like there's another meter to go after. There's another level to go after. And so our guys were going hard, but are they going their hardest in those situations? Effort was good, but effort needs to be great, and when you arrive at the football, you've got to arrive with intensity, you've got to arrive with physicalness, with power, with some anger to a certain extent, if you're gonna dislodge a ball. And and then when the ball's in the air, you've got to go up. And there was a ball in the air on a third down where I think that it hung in the air long enough for either guy to make a play. And you got to grit your teeth and you got to go get it.
And then Toledo, pretty talented offense. Kind of what do you see as the challenge for them?
Up front, of seniors across the board, they're just really crisp with what they do. There's a lot of motion and movement, and they're spot on with what they do. And when they execute with that movement, everybody knows what's going on. You don't see people running into each other. It's a sharp offense. They've played a couple different quarterbacks during the course of the year. Each one of them based on some injury situations that have brought those guys in, and then they execute differently based on their skill set. And so the good thing for them is that when they plug in, that it seems like their offense continues to roll. I think they've got a really two talented tailbacks. I'm impressed with both of them. And and then they've got some good receivers, a big physical receiver again, a couple pretty good tight ends that can run down the field. One of them doesn't have a lot of catches, but he's on the field a lot, used in pressure, and when they do throw him the ball, he can catch it. So this is a really good offense, and it's going to be an awesome challenge for us to go out and, our best is good enough, and can't wait to go do it.
One of the more talented groups, just from depth-wise, that you guys are seeing the MAC then, probably.
Comparing across the board, I think in some ways, but I don't want to take anything away from Western and Central. I thought that those guys had some talent as well. I go back to UMass's offense and say that they had some talent. So I don't know that I want to take away from anything, but this is a gelled group that plays well together, that is very crisp operations in what they do, and then their talent, shows up in addition to all that.
My only question would be, you touched on it a little bit at the beginning in wishing everybody happy Thanksgiving. Having your team around and the family closeness, with it still being a holiday, how do you still allow them to enjoy a holiday, but also still really be prepared for the next day, knowing this is it?
Well, I've had practices on Thanksgiving before, and it's always prior to a playoff game, and so my memory of Thanksgiving practices is awesome. And we're going to have an awesome practice. It's a Friday, so it's, more of a walk and meeting and whatnot. But we're going to take care of that in the morning. And then there'll be about 8 hours or so that our guys will either be at coaches' homes or we even have families bringing Thanksgiving here so that the team and everybody's going to be enjoying a great Thanksgiving and some time away, time with each other. And then we'll go through in the later evening our normal routine of getting over to the hotel for game day. So it'll be my first time through doing it here, but looking forward to spending Thanksgiving together.